Hey, welcome back to It's Time We Talked, the official podcast of Beacon. Here, we cover everything at the intersection of community and technology, with all kinds of guests that share a common devotion to building a better world. Beacon is a nonprofit social network built for community, connection, and action. It's truly free for everyone to use forever. Head to www.thebeaconnetwork.org to create an account and start using Beacon today. Unlike social media, we don't use ads, algorithms, or data tracking to make money off of our users. Instead, we ask everyone who can to donate $5 to $15 a month to help us develop and grow. So please, if you share our commitment to prioritizing meaningful connections and action, head over to www.thebeaconnetwork.org/give to make a one-time or monthly donation today. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to It's Time We Talked. Today, your host, Jared Dubin, is speaking with none other than me, PH, the voice who you've probably been hearing for a while, your head of production, head of media. Yeah, we're doing a little jam session here together, and couldn't be more excited to let the folks who maybe don't know so much about Beacon learn a little bit more. And for those who do know, a little update session and let you guys know what's going on at Beacon and where we're headed. So, Jared, welcome on this fine evening. I'm sure you're in Burnsville, and I'm all the way up in upstate New York. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's nice to be welcomed onto the show by you. Finally, the man behind the show is out in front of the camera and behind the microphone too. So this is very exciting to have our first, well, I guess second, because Jake and I did a podcast together too. But the production quality, I'm sure everyone can agree, has skyrocketed since then. And this is the man behind that increase, that great advancement. So pleasure to be here and to be interviewed by the greatest, and I'm excited to have this conversation and update people on so much has changed this year.
So much.
So I think this is a perfect opportunity to let everybody know, give them the inside scoop, and show them what's ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. So for those who don't know, I'll give a brief introduction, and then I'll let Jared give a brief introduction as well. So I'm PH, short for Paul Hudson. I was brought onto the team in May, and just about a month or so ago, I was kind of moved up a level to the head of production. So I'm in charge of a couple interns here, and just kind of the general, look and way we produce content at Beacon. And that obviously the main thing for us is the podcast. Now we have content going out on social media, and of course our big fundraiser, which we'll get to later. But those are all big things in the trunk, so to speak, that we've got going forward. And yeah, a little bit about me. I'm from upstate New York. Went to school in St. Lawrence University, a small private school, and I studied global studies, which really just kind of means nothing. But yeah, global, just a global interest, I guess. But I most recently did my master's, got my MA from University of Westminster in London, and I studied multimedia journalism. So I'm really excited to bring that to the front as well, and kind of take a lead when it comes to our new quasi journalism department, which we'll get into. But yeah, there's a lot of changes here at Beacon, and a lot to talk about. So I'll leave it to you, Jared.
Well, sure. And before we get into it, I also just want to add that PH, you joined us at the beginning of the summer and really just took ownership of the podcast and made life so much easier for all of us. And you've really brought, with your education, I know global studies, you left, it's kind of like one of those nothing titles, but at the same time, you really do bring a very sophisticated and nuanced perspective to the team that we really appreciate. So, yeah, just got to toot your
Thank you.
horn for a minute and show some appreciation.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah.
Yeah. And as for you, your little mini introduction, as for those who don't
Yeah,
know.
so me, I am the original Beacon Papa. I first had this idea in 2015 when I noticed that social media was going the way of monetization heavily, and it was starting to really interfere with its functionality and our ability as activists and community stakeholders to really use it to organize and connect. So I started thinking like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if we actually had a platform that, instead of developing in the direction of how do we make more money off of our users, developed in the direction of how do we become more useful for our users. Um, and in those days, I just started playing around with the idea, and I was too busy trying to figure out just how to make a living and survive to really throw myself into it. But then, fast forward to the pandemic, I get on unemployment by a streak of good luck. Kind of crazy how luck of the draw that whole situation was, but I was definitely one of the lucky ones. And so I used a lot of the extra time I had to turn this idea into a reality, and I incorporated it into a nonprofit. We assembled the board. I laid a lot of the groundwork, and honestly, so much has changed since then. I first went into this thinking that we were going to develop an app of our own, either by raising enough money to pay a programmer, which is a lot of money. That didn't happen. Spoiler alert.
Hmm.
Or me learning to program like a pilot app and generate interest and then get more people involved. I did develop a dinky pilot app that was online for a few months. Spoiler alert, that also did not take off. So we've pivoted quite a few times, and I think we've really settled now. Thanks in part to Jake coming on board as a partner, and you and some of the other folks coming on board and helping us really clarify this mission. I think we've really found our identity now as, in part, we are a journalistic publication, a platform for people to find out what's happening in the world around them. And then we are also a way for people to get involved when they find out what's happening. Uh, and rather than developing our own app, now we're leaning towards partnering with folks who are already kind of ahead of the game on this. So we've got the partnership with Actor. We interviewed Emil last episode,
Go
and we're
check it
really
out.
excited.
Previous
Yeah,
episode.
if you haven't seen it yet, episode 6, it's a doozy. Meet our friends all the way across the ocean who are helping us create this virtual organizing platform.
The Delightful
Um,
Danes.
the Delightful Danes. Yep. And so, yeah, we're really excited about that. And I think that what we're doing now, what we're really focusing on, is creating the network, connecting the stakeholders, finding the activists and the community leaders who are leading the charge, and being of service to them, getting the word out about what they're doing and letting people know this is how you can step in as well.
Yeah, and of course, everything is. I kind of, my lens through life is all trial and error. So it's all, success is just built on trial and error, and we're trying stuff. Oh, this is not working out. Do a little pivot. Try this. Oh, maybe this would be better. And so I think that's really the story of Beacon, as we pivoted, and we've learned a lot from what we've done so far. Even though I'm you especially, because you started out earlier, but then even just the past 5 months, we've gone had a few different directions. And I do want you to kind of touch upon um, a focus of yours as well, which is you're kind of very troubled by the monetization of social media. So, how is Beacon different in that we're a social network and we don't want to profit off of social media like a lot of other companies do?
My favorite question. It's almost like you're working for us.
What?
So yeah, this is really why it all started, because it just became, it's tragic to me that when I say social networking, people will turn around and say social media and think that we're saying the same thing. And that's not anybody's fault. That's because,
Right.
unfortunately, at a certain point in the evolution of the internet, all of our platforms that we use to connect with each other online became social media, and they began to prioritize the sharing of media and content and ultimately profit over the human connection, over like facilitating a useful, cohesive connection that we can actually clear lines of communication, a clear view of what's happening. All of that has been forsaken in the interest of like having a carousel of gripping content that keeps you scrolling. Kosh was one of our first guests on the podcast, and we talked about the enrage to engage approach that most social media algorithms take, where it's just
Yeah.
like those things that get people angry and full of moral outrage,
Right.
they really sell. Also, sex sells. Like
Yeah.
nothing necessarily conducive to like community building grips the animal part of us in the same
Yeah.
way that these other things.
Well, you can look, just literally scroll down my feed on X or Twitter. I'm not going to call it X. I don't want to say that, but I had to say it.
Yeah.
But, scroll down anyone's feed on that platform, on that social media platform, and you'll see just how horrible it is. It's, you go down there, people are, and now verified is taking a whole new meaning on that platform, because you can just pay for it, and it's just people who are really right wing, and they just say these crazy things, and it's like, okay, no one's gonna really monitor that. And I think that's where Beacon is totally different. We're not we're not looking for media. We're looking for people to connect, and it's really kind of wholesome in that aspect. But we also have a clear and concise mission. If you want to speak to that a little bit more.
So yeah, the mission. Unlike social media platforms that are just trying to commodify our attention, we're really trying to be a tool for people. And like the spirit of this mission is that we can do best for ourselves, better than any institution, better than any politician. I think it's important to try to hold those greater bodies of power accountable and try to control them. And at the same time, there is so much good work already happening in communities everywhere. And I've seen that personally in my travels and in my own experiences. And I just realized that, like, if we can support the people who are already doing that good work, if we can get them more resources, more awareness, more actual supporters, there is so much that is going to get done so quickly because these folks are already on the front lines. They're dealing with the problems every day. They know what the solutions are. They just need help. So we just want to shine light on them, light the beacon, and draw in that support.
Yeah, and I think it's a matter of time, really, because yeah, this platform can really, I mean, especially with partnering with Actor, and that's kind of going to segue into our next topic. How does Beacon look right now? What is our focus? And I think with Actor, who's our technology partner, who we talked about last episode, talked with last episode, it's going to be great to get people on a platform where they're safe and secure, and they don't have to worry about their data being sold, and they're just it's literally connection and community, um, and all that jazz. But for how does Beacon look right now, I guess if you want to talk a bit about kind of how we're laid out right now, how many people we got. Obviously, Jake is like kind of wearing many hats right now, and I'm head of production, also still maybe angling towards communication here with our new journalism interest. But yeah, kind of just walk me through how Beacon's looking right now.
Yeah, sure. It's very exciting to me because at the beginning of this year, there was only one. It was just me feeling pretty burnt out and yeah, a little dispirited about the whole thing. And then Jake, who I'd met at the end of last year, who expressed interest in helping, he stepped on board and really has like transformed the organization. Great, really organized, really understands how to break down the tasks and share them. So he quickly became our chief of staff and has grown us from a team of one to two to now there's 10 of us. Over 10. I think there might be 11. It's
Yeah,
growing all the time. And so we've gone, yeah. So now there's actually departments,
right. We
there's
got multiple
systems in place.
departments. We got regular publications. Right now, we're putting out an action list every month. We got our in person events. Um, and partnerships to come. Obviously, we're angling towards those. So, departments, we have your department, which is kind of community liaison. You're the head of those interns. What do they do?
So the community liaisons are in charge of helping me with outreach to particular stakeholders. Those are like community leaders, activists, folks already involved in the direct action and the mutual aid. Um, they also help put together the action lists, which is now, thankfully, since we have a new intern who has a PhD in public health, we're adding a health resources section to our action list. So that's super exciting. It's been so wonderful to just see things happening that I have zero hand in. And folks really like adopting the mission and taking it in stride and making it their own. So that's been super cool.
Yeah. Well, that's how we're growing, is when stuff goes out and you don't even know that it's going out. Like, because before it was, a year ago, it's all you. Like, okay, what kind of content, what kind of social media posts am I doing? Now it's like, okay, wait, when did we post this Instagram story? I don't remember seeing this.
Yeah,
And
it's so great. I get notifications. I mean, and your department, the social media department, is like one of the best for this. And you guys are putting out regular Instagram stories and posts. I'm surprised half the time, but I'm learning to become less surprised because you guys are on top of it, and then it's all happening. It's the dream realized. It's really It's really beautiful to see.
Yeah, we're manifesting it, and we're pulling through. I mean, the media department honestly has it's been really good to see how much we can put out with a team of just a few motivated and amazing interns. Obviously, I mean, can't forget that they're dedicating their time, and we're just so gracious for it because they're doing a lot of work. I mean, one of our interns, Nicolette, she said, "Okay, why don't we do mutual aid Mondays?" And now we're doing a post every Monday and Wednesday where we're highlighting organizations in the area who need our aid and support. And I think it's really great to see because that's really, you know, the idea of Beacon is to highlight this kind of stuff. So yeah, and then also now we have a dedicated editor for podcasts and videos because we're looking to produce a really funny, funky video for our fundraiser campaign. Yeah, I mean that to the social media department. That's now we got 3 interns, and we're just looking at doing a lot more content that's going to get out there. And I think it's going to be really big for our fundraiser campaign because that is when we're going to aim to shoot out content, on the daily almost. Just trying to get our voices out there because, yeah, with not a lot of money, so we can't do ad revenue and promotions. Local grassroots kind of promotion is like almost ineffective on social media, which is it's very ironic that we're like death to social media, but then we have to use social media because that's the only way to kind of get our name out there right now.
Yeah, as our brilliant board member and my good buddy Miguel often says, sometimes it's necessary to use the master's tools to dismantle his house. And I think that
Hey,
that's part of what we're doing right now. Another philosophy we share is to change everything, start anywhere. And that's also kind of baked into the philosophy of Beacon is empowering people wherever they are. But yeah, as you're saying, like these departments have spread out. It's amazing to see all these people rallying to the banner, and all of this, all volunteer efforts. And I want to say, like, I do not like using unpaid interns. I do not like how none of us are being compensated for this work yet, and that's becoming one of my main priorities is fundraising and securing the money that would get this organization budgeted so that people can be paid fairly for this, I think, really crucial, urgent work. But it really speaks to the necessity of it and the spirit of it that so many folks are willing to work for this for free. And I no longer feel like a crazy person for doing so. I just feel so, it feels so good to be part of a team. Um,
it does. It does. It's helpful when you have people around you, just to bounce ideas off of, and just to, you know, hear what they have to say. And they're all on the same page as us. So it's good to see. Um, so we also, we've kind of we talked about this. We pivoted in strategy, right, a little bit, but we still have the same mission, and we're still going to be dedicated to our communities, our local communities. But what is so we're just starting to talk about our journalism aspirations. How do you see the journalism department kind of working, or the just kind of our journalism partnerships working with Beacon?
yeah, so this is something I'm very excited about that sort of just came in sideways and is here to stay. I always wanted to be a journalist when I was younger, and it just sort of like fell by the wayside. So to see it come back into my life now is great. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. What we've found is that there's this really consistent dismay at the state of journalism and media, especially in America today. It's really hard to get to the truth of situation. It's difficult to get beyond opinion and see the research into the facts. Like a lot of journalism now, it's just ask one side their opinion, ask another side their opinion, and then leave it at that. And like, you really need to talk to who are the people being affected by this? What are
Right.
the real facts behind it? What do the experts say? So we've been seeing this call for that, and at the same time, there have been events unfolding locally that people have wanted to keep up to date on. I've talked a little, I think, in the past about what's happening with our library and censorship and book bans. Um, And so it's really hard. There's not really a great source of news that's keeping up with that, and it's keeping up with all these different social justice issues as they crop up. Like, things are changing so quickly now. Laws are being passed on abortions, on like, can you have a drag show, what's allowed in schools. It's so hard to keep up. And then on top of that, there's all this good work that's happening that's being unreported on because rage sells, and not necessarily like the good things that are happening. So, since we are already in the business of connecting with community leaders and activists and finding out what's happening, it kind of only makes sense to report on that as well. And that's how we started to put out our monthly action lists that have different organizations and groups, the things that they're working on, and ways for people to get involved. The action list also includes updates on major issues in the area. We try to keep track of anti-trans and anti-queer legislation. We're trying to keep track of the bans on abortions and how that situation is developing, environmental justice issues, racial justice issues, uh, anything really that we feel like is important in the path towards justice, equality, and a planet that we can pass on to our grandkids. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I think what we're trying to do also is like it's a fight against the media normalcy in this country, like how we view media, right? Because it's you have all these big conglomerates that maybe there's only just a couple people in charge of the news that goes out, yeah, like so to speak. How yeah, well, the saying that I say is like the left and the right. It's like in the U.S., it's just two sides of the same butt cheek. I mean, you just got like a lot of the similar kind of information going out there, and there's no nuanced discussion. There's no like, okay, how do you learn about a topic and how do you take action, for example. And so that's where we come in, and I think we fit in really really nicely to what a lot of people in the U.S. and maybe globally are looking for. An outlet that tells you what the issues are, explains them in an educational manner, and then tells you how you can go and do something about it.
Yeah, I think it's a super powerful thing to have. I mean, I was telling you about that movie, The Network, that came out, I think, in the 60s or 70s, and that movie is about this moment in history when it was decided that the news had to make a profit. Prior to that, all these major networks ran news stations on their television channels, but they expected the news to run at a loss. It wasn't expected to make money. But then with corporatization and all these mergers and acquisitions, as things happen, they were like, no, the news needs to make money too. And that totally shifted the way we reported on things. And just this, like, I feel like the carousel of content that now has been so codified and like cemented by social media really began with the 24-hour news cycle and this sort of creation of news and manufacturing of outrage, manufacturing of consent, as Chomsky would say. So much of that is in the media. And I think that, like, citizen journalism, grassroots journalism, this thing that we're trying to cultivate and platform, is really going to save the day and give us a much better idea of what's happening, because who knows what the truth is anymore with AI and Photoshop and God knows what else and all these tweets. And just, it would be nice to have some frontline information that is verified by other people that
Yeah,
you can say you're connected to.
people on the ground in the community who know what's going on. Yeah,
Yeah.
AI is definitely scary. All the deep fakes. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, you just can't tell. Can't tell.
Yeah.
Um, so to pivot a little bit, and but still kind of falling in the social media realm, um, what what is kind of turning out to be a growing need that we're targeting at Beacon? So as we said, there's social media has a lot of these shortfalls, and it's kind of fueling a lot of division and misinformation and all this. Um, what what are we now targeting, and what are we trying to help support immediately? Which I think a couple examples would be the situation in the South and other states who don't have the same access to abortion as other states, right? Or even the situation in your library, and just kind of reducing freedoms. Don't say gay in Florida, all that kind of stuff. So, what is our target right now?
Yeah. Well, I'll say also, Don't Say Gay has basically passed here in North Carolina too. It's just not called the same thing. So the situation, as you say, is dire. and social media is a totally inadequate tool for organizing, but it's the best everybody has. So we see all of these activists and all these organizations trying to do good, devoting resources and money and time to keeping an endless stream of content going about the work they're doing, and it's just totally impractical and attacks on the people trying to do the good work. So how Beacon is going to be different. I mean, this is why we're really excited about Actor. In the first place, there's just what we want are really clear communication channels between the people who need to work together. So with Actor, we're going to have a situation where groups can have their own space, and then they can have subspaces or smaller groups within that group. So like take, for example, the Racial Justice Coalition in Asheville. They have all these different working groups who focus on different tasks. Uh, and they could have like different working groups within the RJC group that then can communicate with each other, but then are still aware of what's happening with the whole. And then RJC could also potentially know what another, like the Transmission Project, who we hope to work with. They're also a group that's active in Asheville, and they're working with the trans population, particularly the imprisoned population of trans folks. And so like there are common there's a concept called interlocking oppressions, and it's really important in the struggle for freedom and for the protection of the planet and each other to understand how our struggles are connected. And this
Right.
first became apparent to me during Occupy. And that's like the beauty of things like Facebook and social media is that all these different issues they can see each other in one place and potentially share pools of support. But because of the way social media is laid out, because of its priorities, the algorithms, the content centric design, it doesn't end up working that way. Um,
Right.
but we shift to a totally clean platform that has no ads, it has no clutter. There's no incentive to keep creating content. You just want to update, tell people what you're doing, and show them how they can get involved. It creates a much cleaner, more user centric experience. Um, and also, like really key is the end to end encryption that Actor offers at a
Yes.
time when basic human rights are being criminalized, like an abortion or a drag show or just talking about homosexuality in a school. We need a way to talk about these things on secure channels. There's already been instances of Facebook giving up folks who aided in someone getting an abortion across state lines. Um, and so to do effective organizing at a time when like our existence is being criminalized, we need to be able to communicate privately. And Actor real that's been their priority since the very beginning. And that's why we're working with them. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, not only do we need to, communicate privately, but we also need to tell people what's going on about what's happening and what the importance of all this is, and that's why we're pivoting towards journalism.
Yeah, and that's kind of like we have almost two faces now. There's the outward face where we're a beacon trying to get more people involved, and then there's the inside of it where we're actually providing organizational tools so that once you're involved, you can organize effectively and communicate.
Exactly. All right. Well, I think we've wrapped up our discussion for the first part of this episode. So we'll take a little ad break, and we will see you on the other side to discuss a little bit more about our fundraiser campaign and the positives. See you in a sec.
Start using Beacon today. Join the network now at www.thebeaconnetwork.org. Want to learn more and stay connected? Find us on Instagram at The Beacon Network, Facebook.com/The Beacon Network, and Twitter.com/network_beacon. But our favorite place to connect with you is on Beacon itself, so head to our website and join the conversation today. What are you waiting for?
All right, welcome back, everyone, from our short little ad break. Don't forget, sign up on our website. Yeah, I guess for this second part of the podcast, we want to talk about why Asheville. Why is Beacon starting in Asheville? What's the significance? How the community kind of reacts there, and why we think it's a ideal location for us to start. So, Jared, what drew you to Asheville?
Sure. So first of all, I was saying before, if you want to change everything, start anywhere. And the short answer is it's where I am. and it's where I got started on this work, because I do believe that this work could work anywhere if you gave it the time and attention. Um, but I also think Asheville and the surrounding area, Western North Carolina, is really a perfect place to begin for a lot of the same reasons that I've been attracted to this area. For one thing, there's this really shared respect for nature and for taking care of your neighbor. There's a lot of community and friendliness, even amongst folks who I know are probably voting against my interests as a gay man, or would potentially vote against the interests of people of color or immigrants. If they actually meet somebody, by and large, most of them are going to be friendly as pie. I mean, the Southern hospitality thing is real, and I just think that there is this genuine desire down here to connect and to make things work for everybody, and take care of our own. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Well, it seems like a great community. I visited just a couple weeks ago, and everyone seems to be really on board with the whole community. The idea of strength in numbers, and community members support each other, and it's a real artistic, kind of wholesome vibe. And I think that's the place to be, and that's why we're gonna put our first in-person event there as part of our fundraiser. And that's gonna be at a location called.
Called the Great Wild Nowhere in the River Arts District. We're really excited. It's a very artsy little bar. People can come, have some drinks. We're hoping to have a food truck outside, hopefully donate a little to the cause. And we're also really excited. We're hoping to do these events seasonally, call them a sort of town square event. And at a certain point in the evening, folks are going to have an opportunity to talk about the community work they're doing. So we're hoping to get a bunch of activists there to report on the mutual aid work or whatever work they're doing, and also invite other people to support or get involved. So it's kind of like a live action beacon.
Yeah, yeah. No, I really like the whole idea of it's going to be a town square. And I think, yeah, making these seasonal and just getting more people there, it's gonna bring a real sense of community to what we're doing, and hopefully to the people in Asheville.
I wanted to say one more thing about Asheville also. Strategically for us, I just feel like there are a lot of people there who share our values, who are really concerned with freedom, equality, social justice. And it's a small place with a high profile. So we really feel like the networks are already established there. We can just help strengthen them and really like bring them into connection with each other. And once we have that established here, it's going to be really easy to land somewhere else and do the same thing. Like back in the Research Triangle, more to the east, where like Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill, we've got aspirations to go there next. But anyway, yeah, there's just a lot of energy that we can tap into here in Nashville, and we're excited about that. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we are. And in Asheville, in for this live event, of course, that's going to be during our first ever, hopefully annual fundraiser campaign. And this is a big one. This is gonna decide a lot of things for our next year. But I guess I just want to have you kind of talk a little bit about what it's going to mean to us, this fundraiser campaign, and what it's going to look like. Because we want to get people excited. We want y'all to hear about this from the head honcho, Big Poppy himself. So yeah, take it away.
Thank you. Yeah.
Why it's important to us.
Yeah, well, sure. I mean, like, first of all, we need resources. We've been doing this on the sweat of our brow and small contributions here and there, and there are some people who've really helped get this thing going and keep it going. But we have such a big plan now, and I like to say that the engine's fully built and it's running off of goodwill, and we really just need to give it some gasoline. And that's what this fundraiser is about. And the other thing is that, like, I've wanted a fundraiser like this for years. It's so much work to create, right? And it's like a whole job in itself, and takes skills that I don't have, like the video editing. But we have so much to show, so much to brag about. To be honest, I want the world to see it, and at the same time, we can be highlighting all the good causes and the communities that we're featuring and working with. So it's really a win-win situation. and it's just going to be fun too. Like we filmed the video, we did a bunch of footage filming in Nashville while you were here visiting with Jake, and it was just so nice to like work with people in person on this project and to have fun about these serious issues, and hopefully we create something that's really appealing and fun to share, and it generates a lot of attention and buzz and gets us the resources that we need.
Yeah, we're looking for it to reach as many people as possible. That's the goal, because we just, the problem right now is also people just don't know about Beacon, because every time, I talk to someone about Beacon, it seems like, oh, well, that seems like a great idea. How come this is not more known? And that's
Yep.
and that's really the problem. And that's we're gonna put our name on the map, and I really make sure that we're connecting with people, across the country as well, because I think it's part of our bigger goal is that we can serve, hundreds of communities across the country with, our action lists, and make sure everyone can get involved, and they're pointing people where to go, where to take action. And I think really all three of us, you, Jake, and I, really see this kind of bigger vision, and we really just need the funds at this point. And this fundraiser is going to be a big part of how we go into next year. And because we want to have as big an impact as possible next year. That's really, we can see that it's possible, and now we want to go through and make sure that we can do everything we can to make it possible.
Yeah, thanks to Jake and thanks to Anna on our board. We really have some solid budgets, different sized budgets, different plans. Like we know exactly what we can do depending on how much funding we get. And I feel like, this year we've really started doing the work that I've been talking about and looking for in all the years before that. And now it's time to let people know. We were putting out the action list every month. We've got the podcast. We're doing the reporting. We're working with the platform. We need to tell people about it. And that's what the focus is becoming with this campaign. And hopefully it gets us some funding in the process. Because Lord knows money makes everything easier.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, that's our big goal, and we're excited to share all the content that we've got for our listeners, for you guys, for any members, any newsletter subscribers, and hopefully we'll garner some more people through this campaign. But yeah, this is gonna be our big thing, and we're looking forward to it. So can't wait for everyone to see.
Yeah, everybody stay tuned. Got exciting things coming up. Always.
Yes, stay tuned. And I mean, we're looking forward to do more podcasts, kind of like maybe news bulletin updates as well. So stay tuned for that too. Those should be shorter episodes, and they'll have good discussion in them about kind of what the action list talks about, and updates as well. So yeah, I think we'll call it there, and really looking forward to the next month. But I'm certain you'll hear from us before then. But otherwise, it's been a great chat.
Yeah, and I just wanted, before we sign off, I just want to say thank you to the whole team, everybody who works on this, and PHU especially, and Jake have really, I'll say it again, just taken ownership and brought this thing to the next level. So thank you everybody who's putting so much time and passion into this.
Yes. Thank you to our tireless interns who are doing a lot of good work.
And to you, dear listener, viewer, thank you as well.
Yes, thank you. All right. Catch you next time.
That's all for now, folks. If you have any questions, comments, kudos, or concerns about this episode, we would love to hear from you. Get in touch with our team directly by emailing connect@thebeaconnetwork.org. Beacon is a nonprofit. The app is free, we don't sell ads, we don't use algorithms, and we don't monetize human attention and connection. Instead, we ask everyone who can to contribute just a little each month so that Beacon can continue to develop and grow. If everyone gives a little, we will accomplish a lot. So consider giving just $5 or $10 a month to Beacon today. Make a one-time or recurring donation now at www.thebeaconnetwork.org/give. Thanks for tuning in to It's Time We Talked. Find a connection, pass it on.